Outpost Infinity Siege really caught my eye last year, with promo material showing off large cannons and bigger explosions, touting itself as the perfect bridge between the beloved RTS and FPS genres. Giving players base building, access to control of turrets and insane firepower, chunky feedback when those cannons do fire, and the ability to do all this while fighting alongside your base, it really seemed too good to be true if they pulled it off. Well, you'll be pleased to know that not only does Outpost pull this off, it also offers much more than we initially knew, bridging itself between so many genres, you'll wonder how this hasn't been attempted before now. Before we get started though, a massive thank you to Lightning Games for not only providing myself a copy of the game, but also for the early access, giving me huge insight into the game and allowing me to be able to show off what makes this title so special. But you're here for the review, so what are we waiting for? Let's get to it. Now in this video we'll be looking over several categories covering things like gameplay loop, its graphics, how it handles, and most importantly, is it worth your time and money? So let's kick it all off with the main selling point of it all, its gameplay. Now if you're like me and grew up on the juggernauts in the RTS genre, you'll have some nostalgia for what a classic base creation and unit commanding game can feel like, and Outpost Infinity Siege does a great job of capturing the good parts of this, but also offering its own spin and take. As you progress through the game, you're offered ways to increase the size of your base's platform, giving you more freedom with what can be placed down, both structure-wise and firepower-wise. Initially, you'll start off with a small platform, offering only enough space for a handful of MG turrets, with upgrades allowing you to expand out into eventually becoming an outpost the size of the Seychelles. Well, that is if it was armed to the teeth with heavy artillery and had tank tracks. Now each turret in your control can be adjusted, affecting how it tracks and targets enemies, giving you complete freedom in how your base takes on threats. Want to use MG fire to weaken targets and save your big cannons for enemies that make it past them? Adjust that targeting distance and now you can. Want to manually fire your artillery at targets and feel their firepower firsthand? While interacting with them and taking control, you can also do this. The freedom in your personal tactical approach is refreshing and something I haven't seen in too many games before it. But of course the fun doesn't stop there. Opening commander mode freezes your character in place, so make sure you're not in a dangerous spot, and allows you to be able to select and adjust settings here, like turning off turrets to conserve ammo, or activate your artillery to auto-fire and cover your advance or even your escape. Want to get a barrage on a specific target? Well, that can also happen in this menu. By selecting the turrets you need and pressing Z, you can get a barrage on the location of your choosing, and all with just a few clicks. Keeping this nice and simple and usable in a dire situation should it be needed. But these are just base defenses we've talked about so far, so let's talk about the units that you can control. Guardians and Cataphracts are some of the units on offer as you progress through the game, with Guardians being miniature tanks with a variety of barrel attachments to fill your needs, and Cataphracts being large mechs that can be controlled manually, just in case you want some beefier armor and weaponry at your fingertips. All of this can be controlled inside of Commander mode, selecting where they go and defend or what targets to engage. Want to clear out a compound at no risk to your health? Then produce an army of Guardians and send them into the battle. The fact that this game can eventually be treated as a pure RTS with the involvement of Commander mode is just seriously mind-blowing, and it just kind of because that choice is there, doesn't mean that you should skip out on the fun with your own character. Outpost also likes to dabble in the RPG genre here, allowing you to be able to build, train and outfit soldiers under your command, with each soldier coming in with one of 4 units, each with their respective skill trees, and each deploying with their own take on that skill tree available to them. I currently have about 10 soldiers in my care on my save, with some from the same unit and none have the exact same skill tree, allowing you to find the perfect soldier if you get lucky. Hare Squad produces your fast, melee-focused characters, allowing for movement and melee abilities to chop up enemies coming your way. Mama Squad, on the other hand, goes in the other direction, leaning towards heavy firepower, packing a shoulder-mounted rocket launcher, and access to a decoy for drawing attention away from your base or yourself. Owl Squad is your tech genius specialization, giving them access to a buddy for taking on foes, and a dome shield for protection and passive buffs to yourself, your buddy, and even your base if it's inside its radius. If you're looking to be able to bunker down in a location or create a perfect final stand, then this will be your go-to class. Lastly, we have Tiger Squad, which is what our main character specialises in, perfect for using our Zen weapon to its fullest. Having access to unlimited ammo for 8 seconds allows you to be able to wipe the floor with hordes of enemies, especially if that weapon's kitted out right, while the other gives you an instant cooldown refresh on your powerful Zen weapon abilities, devastating some of the bigger targets in this game, but also providing some additional benefits. We'll look closer at those squads and skill trees in another video, but choosing the right unit for the job will make those tours much easier. Speaking of tours though, the main gameplay loop inside of Outpost requires you to go on tours of locations. Tours are broken up into 4 parts, with the first one being your location selection, letting you choose your path and possible rewards and spending energy to travel. Upgrading your base can give you more energy to travel around with, but energy is fairly scarce outside of that, so think ahead when it comes to deciding where to go. Once a location has been chosen though, the game will load into that environment and gives you a free roam in a large area to find either the objective to be able to bring back or to just explore for goodies. Once you've had your fill though and completed what needs to be done to proceed, you can then start to call for an extraction, causing an alarm to go off and hold out window, leading to your base to be attacked before you can then move on. This then becomes a rinse and repeat function until you're out of energy, or you're just happy to leave with your reward, leading to our last part of the tour, the final extraction. Now the trick with this final level is solely down to you and what you plan to extract. Each item being extracted adds time to your leaving, with rarer items adding more than things with grey or blue rarity. Finding a balance of taking what you need over taking all items and making it impossible to leave really is crucial in a successful run. A bar at the top of the screen lets you know what to expect, with higher waves featuring harder enemies or just an increase in sheer numbers. In later stages, as you progress through the campaign, and going above a certain time threshold can mean spawning in a mini-boss with its own devastating attacks and larger health bar. Once you've settled on what you plan to extract with, get ready for a fight, as you'll want to start preparing your base and surrounding areas. Build ammo crates, protect the front line, and try to outlast the AI opposition. And once your timer is over, you will be tasked with getting back to that evac vehicle, fully completing the tour, and adding your loot to your base storage for making better turrets or even unlocking new options to build in the first place. Levels can be replayed as many times as you want, granting new and different pieces of loot, perfect for being able to try and find that one material that just keeps evading you. Of course, this is all simplified for the purpose of this guide. Levels inside tours have points of interest to help find the best loot, and in some cases even present puzzles or minigames to mix up from the monotony of shooting. Levels are semi-procedurally generated in the sense that while a location might be the same kind of layout, the points of interest that are found within it and the loot and loot locations are still all random, leading to it feeling different more times than it feels the same, saving that feeling of it becoming stale quick. But outside of the main tours and the base firepower, what else do we possess in this game? Well, the game spoils us with some extra things to do and mess about with. Home base has several sections for us to interact with, including a shop for purchasing the gear we may be missing, a research centre that is designed for unlocking the next advancement in your base, a barracks for your soldiers to become stronger over time automatically, a med bay for healing and retrieving any soldiers lost or gone dark, and an intelligence centre allowing you to send soldiers out on their own personal missions, bringing back some nice loot with them while they're at it. But my personal favourite feature that's sure to keep your interest is the modification of the Zen weapon platform. Now, while we've seen games attempt a fully customizable weapon that is shaped around what you put on or in it, the Zen takes this a step further, giving you access to multiple firing modes, multiple base gun platforms, each having their own perks to be able to pick them, and all giving you room to improve their performance with spaces for changing each firing mode's behaviour, adjusting how fast it fires or cools down, or just how much ammo it consumes. Now, this system is pretty in-depth, one that while I've played the game for over 25 hours, the best combination of boosters is just not obvious, and with about 116 mods for us to locate and choose from, the possibilities are just almost endless. You want a gun that can heal and give ammo to your turrets? The Zen can do that. If you want a lightning fast bullet spewer that can also generate ammo for yourself as it chews through the reserve, well, guess what, it can do that too. If you want to shoot and split into 5 homing projectiles that can also apply a status, making it easier to then start mopping up the rest of the enemies, oh yes, it can do that too. So when it comes to freedom in combat, you really have to hand it to Lightning Games here. They set out and they found a way to keep the combat refreshing and new even after 25 hours of running tours. Now, while there is still much more for me to uncover in Outpost Infinity Siege, the above is the general gist of what makes up the game, so while my 25 hours seems like a lot and would usually be the time to start putting down or considering putting down other games, there's plenty of content to go through and keep you entertained throughout. Now, due to the early access, I haven't been able to test out the multiplayer functionality of the title just yet, but I can let you know the info that I've heard and give you some insight as to how it all works. You can team up with up to 3 other teammates in a tour, allowing you to explore and loot together, and then even help make that last extraction much easier and achievable. Unfortunately, this does bring 2 downsides to the table, notably only one outpost is present in a match, and always being the party leader's base. So unfortunately, there's no current easy way to show off each other's bases unless you skip back and forth as the host. But that's where the second downside does come in though, because at the end of each tour, the party is disbanded and you have to join up again once the new tour is agreed, so there is no current lobby function outside of the gameplay. Now, while I do understand why this is the case, due to the base management and all the other functions we have to do after runs, it is a bit of a hassle trying to get a group back together after a completed mission to then run another, so hopefully Lightning Games do think of something to be able to address this in the future. I do expect playing together to be quite popular in this game, with loot still being extracted back to your own base after a successful tour, so you're still rewarded for being able to take part. There is also a menu to quickly pop into another player's game if their lobby settings are open, so this does allow for easy access to multiplayer even if you don't know the people on the other side. Now, once you've ran through the campaign though and taken on all but the strongest levels, there is an option for Endless Mode, something that can only be taken on with using a specific resource. Endless will probably be the best location to test out your base and see how it handles enemies, leading to a perfect testing ground for strategies and finding the best combination of turrets. It also hints at a second version of Endless Mode, potentially being the ultimate endgame in this title, but also potentially offering the biggest of rewards. Unfortunately, my playtime has not been enough yet to get there, but due to my resource farming, so expect a long grind to get yourself to the level needed. Performance and graphics wise, I can't say too much negative about the title here. It runs pretty smoothly on my AMD 5800X and my Nvidia 3080 system, even on the highest of settings. I've rarely had some FPS drops, and even if I do, they are very short-lived. The game is stunning for the most part, with the base, weaponry and explosions clearly having a lot of love and work put into making them look great. Levels in the environment are passable for the most part, with some places being great and others just looking like they've been placed without a thought for its purpose. Destroyed wreckage looks and feels very copy and pasted as you move around, but admittedly it's not a big deal as they aren't really the main focus. Enemies, on the other hand, are a mixed bag. The main fodder of metallic scorpions are okay, but aren't anything that stands out to me. The ones carrying explosives, though, are a bigger upgrade in appearance, and I think they are a great addition to the game for the appeal and also for gameplay reasons. Of course, the higher you go up in enemy difficulty, the better they start to look, and the more effort it feels has been put into them. Enemies and their pathing though are a low point for me though, with some enemies just flat out walking slowly away from your base and their objective, or even phasing into geometry itself. Enemies also seem to have what I can only describe as low frame rates in some cases, looking very jittery as they move and attack, but it's not all the time, and this could be down to the amount of enemies on screen and being processed at once, so hopefully this is something that could be addressed down the line. They're still easy enough to be able to deal with, their hitboxes aren't a problem, it just looks bizarre, and especially in large groups, and can really detract you from being able to enjoy the game at times. I'm sure these things can be dealt with as more people start to play the title and developers work on it with patches, but it's something that is worth mentioning in case it is a deal breaker to you. And while I'm sure there are still a few surprises left for me to be able to find, that's essentially Outpost Infinity Siege in a nutshell. It really is a great combination of base micromanagement, base construction, tower defense, RTS, RPG, FPS, anything you can pretty much name it, this game pretty much has it. So if you've ever been a fan of one, two, or even all of these genres that I've just mentioned, and want to make the biggest death ridge on wheels that you possibly can, I would highly recommend being able to grab this title. And with that, it pretty much wraps it up on my review for Outpost Infinity Siege. I've already got some great guides coming soon to the channel, helping to understand the mechanics of the game and how to maximise your output. So if all that sounds interesting, make sure to drop that like and subscribe so you can find your way back to the channel for more. But this is where I want to be able to hear from you in the comments section down below. What do you think of Outpost Infinity Siege? What genres that I've mentioned above are you a fan of? And what's your idea of the perfect outpost? Let me know all that and more down below. Thank you for making your way to the end of the video, and as I always say, keep yourself safe, keep yourselves well. I'll see you all on the next video.